Darth Maul is Daenerys Stormborn's Sith Master. This is spoilers. Hey, Mikey.
Hey, Josh. I was going to say lover.
They're lovers.
Potential lover.
How many lovers does she have?
Emilia Clarke is getting around in this movie. And I've heard... I don't know if... I didn't really follow up on the spoiler, but I heard that we potentially see Rey's parents in this movie, and I'm just going to assume that this is what they're talking about.
You think Darth Maul and Qi'ra are Rey's parents?
This is like BuzzFeed news. I just saw a headline that said, "We see."
No, this is spoilers. This is spoilers news.
I mean, yeah, of course. I didn't follow up on it like spoilers usually does on anything that we research. But I just saw a headline that said, "We see Rey's parents in the Solo movie," and I'm assuming that this is what they're talking about.
It could also be two nobodies that are just looking to sell a slave for some drink.
Yeah. That is possibly true. It was the two robots fighting in the cage.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're kind of co-hosting tonight because, sadly for Solo, we're the only 2 out of the 6 spoiler men that saw this movie, right, Mikey?
Yeah, I had nothing going on this weekend, so I was pretty free. I totally forgot that this movie was even coming out until someone tweeted about it, and I was like, oh, I guess that is coming out.
I think the tweet was, a Star Wars movie comes out today. Did anyone know that?
Were you pumped for this at all? Did you want to see this?
I wanted to see this as closure to myself in the Star Wars saga. I'm like really looking forward to that closure, but we can get into that a little bit later towards the end of the movie. But I saw this movie with my brother-in-law, and like speaking of like low attendance, like it was Saturday, and I was nervous because I was only 15 minutes early, and I was like, should I buy my brother-in-law's ticket? And I was like, are there a lot more from the get? And the lady was just like, there are plenty, without like batting an eye. So not a great box office opening for this, right?
I mean, I was like surprised when I got there. I went today at like noon, like right at noon.
Today's Sunday of Memorial Day. Yeah,
Sunday of Memorial Day. I got there at noon, and I had to like choose my seat, and there was like not a whole lot of seats left.
Really?
So, yeah. So I was going into it totally blind. I was thinking it had done well, and then I saw a spoiler tweet that said it had gotten only 86 million, which was like half of what they were expecting, right?
I'm not sure on the exact numbers, but I know that domestically and worldwide, it's been a little lower than they had hoped.
Yeah, which is, I mean, for me it was surprising. I don't know anything about Star Wars really, but
yeah,
I would expect at least like 100 million because just on the name alone.
Yeah, well, when you're releasing another Star Wars every year until we all die, it's going to get watered down a little bit. The hype gets watered down. It's true.
Well, what did you think about the plot? Did you think it was watered down?
Yeah, so let's talk about the movie. Enough, like, and I don't think we should judge the merit of a movie based on the amount of money it gets anyway. Like,
no,
that doesn't bother
for sure,
me.
no.
And so we get in the movie, and let's just like, I thought maybe tonight, Mikey, we're in the dugout, and we're probably going to need to take a pool break at some point. But maybe tonight we could go over the characters instead of like a breakdown of the plot itself. We can just kind of talk about the characters and like what they accomplished. But,
okay.
Let's start off with Alden Han Solo.
Han Solo. Okay. What'd you think of him?
I want you to say the quote that you said to me right before we started the podcast.
Who is this guy and what has he ever been in?
And you're like, he looks nothing like, he sounds nothing
he
like.
looks nothing like, and he sounds nothing like Harrison Ford, that's pretty hard to expect from anybody, I would assume. Harrison Ford is kind of one of a kind, so right off the bat, I think you're setting yourself up for failure with this movie.
I thought that was one of the weaker parts of the premise of this movie. Was you're expecting...
I'm not even saying that he did a bad job. It's just like,
yeah.
If you want to compare someone to Harrison Ford, there's not too many people that's going to pull that off.
And Disney put Alden in like the worst scenario possible. Like, you have to do a performance where you're like reenacting another actor, but also like pull this off in your own right. And
yeah.
honestly,
and also be totally unknown.
Yeah.
What is this guy
And
been?
possibly European, we're not sure. But yeah, like I think we agree there though that like he did a pretty good job, right? I don't have any complaints.
I don't have any complaints either. It's just like if you're expecting him to look and sound like Harrison Ford in any sort of way, I think you're going to be disappointed. But I can't complain on how he was throughout the movie. I thought he did a fine job.
We'll get to the plot and the characters in a second, but Han Solo's backstory gets filled in quite a bit in this movie. And I find that as a big Star Wars historian, maybe, and buff and fan, I found that to be really annoying and forced.
I don't know. I don't know. Going into it, I didn't know if reading the books or anything like that was going to be a big seller on this movie at all. Because right off the bat, we get Lady Proxima or whatever, and I didn't know if that was like something from the Star Wars books or...
It's not from the movies, any of the movies.
Yeah, I know that. But I didn't know if there was something that I was missing, because that seemed very odd to me, was Lady Proxima, just a giant worm.
That's known. She's like a Jabba the Hutt, but of worms.
And...
She's like a vampire worm, actually.
Yeah, that was like... Okay, if I was going to complain about anything so early on in the movie, it was going to be this scene where Han Solo throws a rock through a window and totally defeats Lady Proxima. It seemed really out there, don't you think? I didn't know if that was... honestly, when I saw that scene, I was like, I honestly don't know if I should have read this and known about it beforehand, or if I had missed something in the movies.
I think that's a problem with the movie. If you can't go into a movie having read literature, I mean, this is supposed to be a standalone movie, but also... if anything, you could be expected to maybe see the other movies. I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
Like an Infinity War sort of situation.
Yeah.
But like to say that you have to see all other 9 movies plus the Rebels cartoon series and read whatever books are canon now and made a lot of other ones non-canon. Like...
So we know...
Really?
So in the entire Star Wars universe, we know nothing about Han Solo. Is that what we're saying? There's nothing... Do you know... at all, if there's anything canon of Han Solo at all in anything?
Besides this movie?
Yeah, besides this movie.
I don't know, because I was surprised that
it right off the bat, it made it seem like you should know some stuff.
That he's from Corellia?
Yeah.
That's probably like a one-off mention in one of the original trilogy movies. Mm-hmm. He's a scoundrel from Corellia or something. Yeah. But I don't think you're supposed to have read anything, Mikey. I think it's just... it feels that way because it's like the whole movie has this like tongue-in-cheek feel, and I think that we'll skip to let's go to Donald Glover playing Lando, because this is where I think this comes into play the most. I really, in some of his interactions with Han Solo, I felt like they were kind of doing impressions of the old characters a little bit.
Oh man, I feel so conflicted on this. I love Donald Glover and like everything he's ever been in, but I honestly don't know what to think about him in this movie, because like you said, it seemed like he was forcing himself to talk a certain way. Like the beat of his voice was kind of, he intentionally tried to pace himself in the way he was speaking and stuff like that, and it sounded just kind of forced and awkward to me. But there was also some other scenes where I thought like, oh, he was totally cool, and now they're talking about like giving him his own movie, his solo movie. So
why not?
Yeah, I mean,
Gronk Droid getting something?
Everybody's getting their own movie, but I don't know. But this was like when they started announcing these new movies, he was the one like, oh, a Lando movie, oh, a Boba Fett movie. Those would totally be awesome as solo movies. Not Han Solo.
Yeah.
But they do the Han Solo movie instead. So, I don't know. I just feel sort of really conflicted on his performance. There's some scenes where I think it's really great, and there's some scenes where I think it's kind of forced. So.
Well, the way they do this movie, I feel like they're pretty much in the clear to do a Emilia Clarke standalone movie or a separate Donald Glover movie, or use the two in the same movie somehow. Like, there's plenty of cliffhangers, and especially we mentioned the Darth Maul thing with Emilia Clarke flying off with him. I think that's the biggest one. Like, despite all this movie's flaws, people are going to be hungry to know, like, why is Darth Maul back after being cut in half?
Back? This is
yes.
Yeah, this is not back. This is a prequel.
That's what I talked about with someone after the movie, because Darth Maul was cut in half by a young Obi-Wan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Han Solo is young when he runs into Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's like an old fart by then, right? So Darth Maul gets cut in half. You're talking about the books, but in the extended universe, the non-canon universe, it's known that Darth Maul gets cut in half and survives.
What?
Yeah. And so they said they scrapped that whole side of things, but that's one aspect of that extended universe they brought back. Like, I guess Darth Maul, using the Force, survives and gets robotic legs. And that's an older Darth Maul.
You're blowing my mind right now.
Is it blown?
Well, I mean, I don't know anything about Star Wars, so I just assumed that they had that I don't know shit about the timeline or anything going into this. So I totally went into this just open-minded. I had no expectations going into this movie at all, so I was fine with whatever I had seen, and I thought it was. I don't know. We'll get to that later, but we're still on two characters.
Yeah, and like Donald Glover, I think we said enough about him, but I want to move on to Emilia Clarke, who I teased a little bit. She's Han Solo's first girlfriend. I don't know. They're in love, I guess, and they're on Corellia together. They're like in an orphanage, and they steal something together that's really valuable, and it's like their chance to get off the planet. And basically, Han Solo gets like stopped at the Trump's border wall. Or no, Han Solo climbs over, but the guards stop Emilia Clarke and they detain her. And on a serious note, Mikey, I really did feel like with what the stormtroopers were saying and how they were basically acting like TSA and cops, I felt like it was a social commentary.
I honestly got that exact same impression. I thought that this was like a social commentary on the ICE troops or whatever, and the whole immigration thing. I was like, what is this movie? Right off the bat, I was like, there's a giant worm, there's TSA.
Yeah.
Well, I really didn't understand what the context was in this movie. It seemed kind of off, but also also made sense.
Well, the stormtroopers kept saying, and maybe we can play a quick clip of it here, but stormtroopers, one of the lines I heard multiple times was, "Stop resisting." And that's like totally something you see in like YouTube cop videos. They weren't cussing as much as real cops.
No. There was just like a lot of things at the beginning of the movie that just totally didn't really seem like they belonged in a Star Wars universe to me, I guess. It seemed like a little too real. It seemed like it was like watching a YouTube video almost.
Yeah, it was. Which I think is a good thing about this movie. It's back to actual, like, gritty... It feels like filmmaking instead of a giant green screen universe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the one thing you can definitely applaud the movie on is that... I mean, all of these Star Wars movies, honestly, besides the prequels, they look amazing. And...
Yeah, they do.
That's like the one continuous thing you can say throughout the entire series. Is that they look really great.
Their quality is high.
Yeah.
High video quality.
Yeah.
So let's just finish out, since this is spoilers, we'll just go through this whole love arc really quick. Basically, Han Solo gets separated from Emilia Clarke at the border wall, and when he's on one of his jobs that we'll get to later, she just kind of shows up. She's working on the ship that he happens to be on. And she's married / enslaved to what's basically the big baddie of the film.
Yeah, I think the direction this movie should have gone was to kind of focus on Emilia Clarke's character. I think that would have been a really good choice instead of focusing on Han Solo, honestly, because she seemed to have like the craziest story.
That would have been kind of cool if, like, you think this movie is going to be about Han Solo.
Yes, exactly.
And he gets, like, separated at the border wall, and he just comes back in at the end.
Yeah, that would have been fucking crazy.
That would have been pretty cool. But no, you're basically wondering the whole movie what happened in the in-between time with her.
Yeah.
And clearly she's boned a bunch of dudes. That's basically what she alludes to.
Yeah. And she's now in this super powerful position right next to the main bad guy of the movie until we see Darth Maul. But she's worked her way up, and now she has kind of all this power, and then she's kind of forced on this mission.
And she ends up defeating Dryden Voss, who's played by Paul Bettany, in like a duel of blades. And then that's when she like calls into Darth Maul. So I don't know if that's like she was further down the ladder, and maybe by defeating her master, she like answers up. That's kind of what I was maybe thinking.
I honestly have no idea. I don't know much about Star Wars and the whole. I know the main theme is the apprentice kills the master. I know that's like the whole.
The rule of two.
Yeah, that's the whole get of the series, but I honestly don't know what's going on. But I thought her character was great, and I thought she did a fantastic job.
She was pretty good, and one thing I wanted to talk about was how I felt like this movie was a little bit more overtly sexual than other Star Wars movies.
Darth Maul like implies at the end of the movie, like, we're gonna bang.
Wait, that's what you think he was saying?
He's like, we're gonna work very closely, is what he says.
I thought he meant by that he's gonna be like, he suspects her of being like soft, and so like he's gonna come down on her hard for that. But
I don't know. I got the impression that he was like,
I totally get what you're saying.
We're gonna try and make a Force baby.
Wow.
Of
okay.
Proportions or something.
Okay. Possibly, and then like
she seemed kind of super evil, like in the end.
Yeah, like it was all a ruse, basically.
Yeah.
But there's also like a scene where her and Han are like in the bedroom, and there's a bed behind them, and they're basically like, we're about to end up in the bed.
Yeah. Han explicitly states like he wants to have sex with her, like in the next 5 minutes.
And there's also a little bit of droid on human sexuality that we'll get to in just a little bit. I want to keep people around listening because we'll get into the human.
It's about to heat up.
The human AI sex in a little bit. But right now, one of the big names that they're obviously trying to flash all over this movie is Woody Harrelson. I think Woody Harrelson's a great actor. He plays Beckett, who's a rogue. He's basically Han Solo, but older. He's like, he's kind of nice, but in the end, he's only taking care of himself sort of guy.
Yeah, I just kind of like a quick search on Twitter, looking at kind of opinions. I saw that Woody Harrelson was very like highly favored. Like I didn't see anybody try to complain about him. I thought he did a great job.
He did good, and like honestly, his character is playing that stereotype of scoundrel so to the T. I felt like I had a couple like roll eye moments with his character, but I thought he did like a really good job of acting that out and doing whatever they asked, you know.
I mean, honestly, I don't think I've ever seen Woody Harrelson in something that I didn't like. I think he's a great actor. I know.
So you do like this movie? This included?
I mean, you
don't have to give your yes or no yet.
No, if you wanna rate a movie like on a scale of 1 to 10, and 5 being no, 6 being yes, I would give this movie above a 6.
Okay,
honestly.
So that's a spoiler.
So spoiler on my spoiler.
Wow,
on
this
spoilers.
is a meta spoiler moment.
We're 2 layers. We're 2 dreams deep in this spoilers review.
With that, I think we should take a quick pool break. We're at the dugout right now, and it is like we had to shut the doors.
It's scorching hot.
Yeah, I'm starting to sweat through my shirt, and we're going to take a quick Spoiler Man break. We're going to get in the pool, and we'll be back in a second.
Show me how to do it.
The only thing you need to learn to do is do what I say when I say it, and this time tomorrow, you'll have more than enough to buy your own ship.
Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is podcastspoilers. It's lit.
Okay, and we're back. So we just got done talking about Woody Harrelson. Good performance, and you revealed your yes to this movie.
Yeah, spoiler.
And I want to talk to the end scene in its own right in a little bit, but he's like a key component in kind of how things go down at the end.
I mean, would you, yes or no on Woody Harrelson in this movie for you?
I'm a former Star Wars fan, current Star Wars critic, and I can't help but look at him like, oh, we needed a big name in this movie to give it some star power. I think his performance is good, so yes, but...
Granted, his hair is ridiculous in this movie. The man is bald. Just have him be bald. It's not like there's not bald people in this universe.
This is Star Wars. They've invented Rogaine by now.
Yeah, exactly.
They have lasers.
But other than that, I mean, I liked him. I like him in everything. Like I said, I think he's a really good actor.
And where he picks up in Han Solo's story is Han, after he gets separated from Emilia Clarke, decides to join the military, which is very much like the American military industrial complex.
What is this? I had no idea that... Is this real? That Han is a part of the Imperial Army?
I guess, yeah, for a little bit.
Like...
For a couple of years? Or...
What is this plan that he has? He openly says, like in the first literally 2 minutes, like, I'm never gonna be... we're gonna escape to a part of the universe where the Empire will never find us. And then his plan is to join the Empire?
Well, they had a way for him to be a pilot. And it was also part of his escape from that, like, bay that he was in. He hadn't totally escaped, like, the immigration room. And the way he escapes across the border...
I don't know if I missed something when Emilia Clarke gets the door shut on her and he switches his plans, like, now this is my only way is to join the Empire so I can, like, fight from within or something. I thought that's where the movie was going to go.
They didn't say that explicitly, but he, like, looks at the sign and has, like, a moment where he's like, I would say we play that clip, but it's just going to be, like, dramatic music. There's no audio.
I don't know. I just thought this turn of the plot was just, like, a little absurd to me. I don't know.
It flash forwards to the future.
Really make any sense to me.
He's been in the army for a little while, and he meets this group of characters that I guess they have, like, contacts within the military, but they're more like mercenaries. And they're scoundrels, whatever. They're pirates on the open space sea. Mm-hmm. And he notices that despite them trying to shrug off the new guy, he kind of becomes attached to their crew. Did you buy that, I guess? Like Han Solo getting his start by basically trying to just, like, be that kid that shows up all the time.
This was also, like, I mean, it's not really great to have two kind of confusing sequences, one right after the other. First, the Empire thing, Han joining the Empire thing, and then second, you're just buying into the fact that Woody Harrelson is impersonating a captain, and nobody else in the surrounding army is like, oh, that guy is definitely not in the army.
Yeah.
So Woody Harrelson is just, like, automatically pulling rank on all of these soldiers.
And he's, like, barely wearing the jacket. It's, like, barely propped up over his, like,
there's clearly bullet holes all in his armor that he ripped off a dead guy. And everybody's just buying into the fact, besides Han Solo, that, oh, this guy's the captain.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was like two very distinct things that were like very weak.
And I think that's caused by there must be some throwaway line in a Star Wars movie where he says he joined the army, and I don't know where that comes and if he mentions that, but otherwise, yeah. As far as this movie itself, why couldn't he have met Woody Harrelson like in that immigration port?
Yeah, that would have been really good actually, and I don't know. It's just really far-reaching.
I agree.
For me.
So we'll move on because Woody Harrelson, his first mate and partner, is played by Thandie Newton. She's Val in this movie, but a lot of us know her from Westworld,
Mission Impossible 2 or 3 or something.
Something
That's
like
like
that.
the only thing I know her from.
She's pretty good in this movie. She plays the part of Woody Harrelson that's basically saying, like, don't let Han Solo in our group.
She's Woody Harrelson's girlfriend. She's in the movie for about a total of 15 minutes. I honestly thought this might have been the cameo because I don't know who was going to be the big secret cameo in this movie. So I was like, oh, Thandie Newton. It's like, yeah, she's great in Westworld. But yeah,
You had a lot of, like, fake cameos. You thought
honestly,
Jon
yeah, I
Favreau
did.
was the
Yeah.
cameo.
It's like I don't know what they're trying to pull here.
Darth Maul was the cameo.
Who can Disney not get is the real question.
They can get Jon Favreau, that's for sure. But Val offs herself. She literally has like a suicide bomb moment, and she sacrifices herself for the squad. So when she dies, it's actually only Woody and Chewie and Han himself left.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about that move of having a suicide bomb moment? She like smiles and like presses the clicker, and from a wide shot, you just see this bridge.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty bold move.
Are we post 9/11 now?
No. America as a whole is never post 9/11.
Why are we laughing? Oh, jeez.
I don't know. I that scene kind of caught me off guard, I guess. I don't know exactly what their plan was with this whole stealing a cargo, what do you call it, from a train. They were on a monorail.
They stole like
They
this
stole
energy source from a monorail, and like apparently
they
it's
stole
worth,
a caboose.
It's worth like
A billion
credits.
bucks.
Yeah, but there's only like 6 stormtrooper guys guarding it, which is a little odd. Val is part of this crew with Jon Favreau, and he plays a character named Rio Durant, who I guess might be a Kevin Durant. Like
Rio de Janeiro.
I thought, like, whatever, Jon Favreau was in it. I don't think the voice acting was like phenomenal.
Did you know it was him?
I did not, but I knew it.
I knew that they were trying to say, or trying to insinuate that, hey, this is someone.
Yeah.
You should listen to
I
this
felt like
voice.
that, too.
Yeah. But, I mean, honestly, I couldn't tell. But
I liked his character, and I thought that the
was a great
CGI
character.
was like really well done. Like the character had a good weight to it, or something.
yeah, his, he dies. This is spoilers. But I thought it was a good death. Like, it's kind of like one of the more heavy-hitting deaths, I guess, in the whole franchise.
It's interesting to have like a death scene, and you're looking for like realism in the death scene, but you don't really know how like an alien species is supposed to die.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like shot with a blaster like in the chest, and kind of has this slow like Old West.
Mm-hmm. He's still trying to fly the plane so they can get out of there, and
Doing a real shitty job.
yeah, he's slowly death is slowly taking him away.
Yeah, and he's kind of like this weird bug lizard. I don't know.
He was a good character.
Yeah,
I liked him.
He's a nice dude. And another pretty nice dude, I thought, actually Dudette, it's another heavily CGI character, is L337, played by Fiki Walker-Bridge. This is the main. I feel like all these new Star Wars movies are introducing another like droid.
Yeah.
We saw one in
Another
Rogue
toy?
One. Yeah. What did you think of this one?
I think this one is...
L337. Not exactly rolling off the tongue for me.
Leet.
Oh, true.
Oh wait, is it?
Yeah, it is Leet.
But I thought this is like a total shot in the dark for me. They really went out there with the personality of this droid, and I don't know if they kind of pulled it off. It seems kind of annoying to me, but also there's some funny lines. It was like, this is the uncanny valley of Star Wars droids. Like, is it way too human and it's just coming off as creepy? Or is it like kind of adorable? And it was just like, this droid is saying kind of way too many human-like things. And it was like, what is this character? I don't know. For me.
So the character is an ultra smart, I guess, ultra human-like.
Yeah. Is
droid.
this like a superhero in Star Wars? Like, this thing was apparently the smartest thing in the universe.
It basically has achieved full consciousness to the point where it's sticking up for the equal rights
like
of droids.
indistinguishable from a human in terms of personality.
And to the point where her and Lando...
It's Ultron.
Her, Leet, L3, and Lando have some sort of sexual relations. Definitely.
I don't know if that was even... Like, this is the thing with... my problem with this character is... It's not even, like, totally implied that Donald Glover hooked up with this robot. It just makes this robot kind of come off as creepy. Because this thing says... Or Emilia Clarke asked this robot, like, if it would ever work out between her and Lando. And
Sexually.
Like, yeah, and she's like, no. And then she,
not sexual. Oh, sorry.
In terms of a relationship, and she says, no, it would never work out. We're not compatible. And then Emilia Clarke asks again how would that even work? And she was like, it would work. So
I thought she said it does work. Like, she has experience with it.
I don't know. I think, like, I saw on the internet, it just seemed like it was coming off as, like, they're kind of reaching, like, just...
no,
this
dude.
is kind of ambiguous, like,
no.
I don't know.
Okay, I'm for sure...
Donald clearly loves the robot in the end. Like, it's obviously his friend because he's pretty torn up. She dies.
That robot has pleased Donald Glover sexually. And I don't know if a robot has...
Keep in mind, this thing is complete metal.
Whoa!
We see every angle of this robot, and there's no way any part of this thing is soft.
Is she thick?
She's pretty thick.
She's a brick house, dude.
This robot's thick.
So, Leet, or L3, I love that we found out she's Leet, but... She dies, and she's like half a body. And yeah, you played Halo.
Way too many video games. God damn it.
Lando's holding this robot that's like bleeding out, Saving Private Ryan style, and he's like, "No, come back to me." And she's like, "Where am I? Say hello to mother for me." It's a real, like, human death scene, and I wasn't taking it seriously, Mike. Yeah,
no, this was one of the problems I had with, like, Lando's character. It just seemed like they were going for Saving Private Ryan in a Star Wars universe, and it was like, I don't know, like, we're not at the point in and Elon Musk hasn't invented robots to the point where, like, we actually feel for these things yet.
Yeah.
And it was just really weird. It clearly doesn't look like a human at this point.
I think if anything's made us feel for robots, it's been the Star Wars trilogy. But this is, like, this droid's first movie, and they're trying to go from zero to having sex with Donald Glover real quick. And I don't know if that's working.
Before it's, like, even established years later in the real movies.
Like, I don't even know if she likes sand or not.
Yeah. It's coarse.
It gets everywhere. I'd assume she doesn't like it too much. But she does die, and spoiler alert, this is spoilers, she becomes part of the Millennium Falcon, which contributes to Han Solo.
Is this a thing in the original trilogy?
Yeah. So one of the huge things in the original trilogy that's always talked about is how fast Han Solo did this Kessel run.
No, but I mean, do they specifically reference like LEET or whatever?
No,
L3?
well, not that I know of.
Like the navigation system.
I wonder if they like zoomed into some still frame to get her name from the original trilogy, but like, no. I think that this is just a way of saying like this is part of the reason why the Millennium Falcon has so much character.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming from this robot.
Okay. I mean, I had no problem with it. I thought it was kind of cool.
That part was pretty cool. I mean, you wonder what sort of existence she has as just like a ship that can't talk that gets like thrown into the muck. I think she like spends a decade at least just in the desert on that planet that Ray's on. 'Cause it's just like tarped forever. Poor L3. So L3 ends up as the Millennium Falcon, I guess. And we can move on. Who's the next character we should go over? I mean, we've talked about Lady Proxima.
Paul Dryden. He's the bad guy, I guess.
Yeah, Dryden Voss. He's the big baddie. Emilio. I almost said Emilio.
And that's
Got
your
Young Guns on the
reference.
Amelia Clark is married or enslaved to this Dryden guy, and he has like scars that like get inflamed when he gets pissed or something.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was really coming off, if I was imagining that, because it didn't look like it was. I don't know. It didn't look like they were trying too hard on the CGI there. I didn't know if I was seeing that or. It looked like he was definitely getting angry, but I don't know what.
I mean, it was almost like they wanted to make him a little more than human or something.
Yeah.
It's like a special effect, but he ends up dying in the end when him and Amelia Clark duel. But basically, he's just like a mob boss, I think.
Yeah, I don't really understand what kind of power he has over Amelia Clark or even Woody Harrelson's character. I don't know exactly where he lies in terms of like. Amelia Clark makes a reference that he even works for someone which is even higher than him. So,
and that's kind of a trope in Star Wars. Like Jabba the Hutt is just this real powerful mob boss for some reason, and this guy Dryden is another example, and Lady Proxima even from this movie is another just like powerful mob boss. I don't think his character has any real depth. They force it a little bit, like with
he literally doesn't leave one room.
Yeah, and he's like all highfalutin and high class, and then he's like ultra violent on the side, and that's kind of his shtick. Yeah,
I mean, Paul Bettany as an actor is great, but this character I don't think was very well written or even thought out. I guess I don't know. He's so one-sided, and he literally doesn't leave this one room. Like all of his scenes are basically shot in 24 hours. So,
dude, it's so true.
I honestly don't know what they expected from this character. And he seems to have like kind of way too big of an influence on the plot.
Yeah. The whole thing kind of comes down to him. But we've gone through all the characters now. What I want to do really quick is talk about probably my biggest negative issue with the movie. And I mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast, but there were times in this movie where they forced in... Is it okay? Is it an emergency?
No. I just didn't want to be.
Mikey just got a text. No. Han Solo's like backstory gets filled in pretty completely. The first example that I have of this is you literally get told explicitly how he gets his last name Solo.
Yeah.
And I think this may be the worst part of the movie. This is coming from someone that loves Star Wars. I'm really interested to see what you think of that.
Honestly, I didn't hate it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he has nobody. The thing is, the immigration officer or whatever.
Yeah, we're back to that.
The ICE agent assigns him a name because Han Solo doesn't have a family anymore at this point. So
he's like, "Who are your people?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "No one, just me."
Yeah, he has no last name.
We'll definitely play this clip. I think that's gonna.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, spoiler, he names him Solo, and I don't know. I wasn't upset about it. I honestly, when you watch the original trilogy, that's a ridiculous name. It's like, who is? I know it's space. Anything is possible, but who gets that name? And it's like, is it fake? He's a smuggler? Why would he ever have a real name, anyways? I mean, I'm fine with it.
But for a movie that admittedly is a lot of action and not a whole lot of dialogue, they spent some time like digging in. It's not just a quick throwaway line. They have a little bit of a back and forth about like...
It's an iconic name, so, I mean, of course they're going to dig into it.
I can't complain. Like, I think one of the reasons why that bothers me so much is I love falling into suspension of disbelief. And when they get super self-referential like that, I can't help but just get, like, zapped out of that immediately.
Would you have just wanted... Oh, his last name is Solo. His family's name is Solo. Or what do you want?
Yeah, and to that point, let's move on to the next thing that's explained. Him and Chewbacca, who's probably we weren't ignoring him. People, we know he's a character, but he's not like we're not going to judge Chewbacca's acting.
Justice for Lumpy.
Prayers for Lumpy. Hashtag prayer for Lumpy. That was the one question Mikey had for me before he watched the movie. Is Lumpy in it? I was like, not telling you.
And I was so upset.
Was he in it? No.
No, he's not in it.
How do you know? There's some other Wookiees.
If that was his family, there are some other Wookiees in this movie, but if that was his family, he would have escaped from Han Solo. He would have never come back.
Maybe. I don't know. You'd have to do like some sort of like test with the like do some like thumbprinting thing. So with that like initial special, the holiday special, go back and look at the faces and see if they match up.
Oh, poor Lumpy.
So ignored, so underrated. But anyway, the next thing that they explain in Han Solo's past is how he met Chewbacca. So how did that happen?
Well, it's a conflict. Han Solo is turned on by Woody Harrelson's character. Woody Harrelson, posing as a captain, says Han Solo is a liar or whatever, and they toss him in jail. And
he's like, that guy's trying to desert. He's a traitor.
Yeah, and so I guess the punishment in this empire is feed it to a wolf, which is not so much unlike our own government. So
he gets sent to Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, and so he's like fed to Chewbacca in a pit, and then they just kind of fight each other. And during the fight, Han Solo apparently speaks Wookiee off the bat.
I have a huge problem with how they introduce that. He's like, it's the very end of the fight, and Chewbacca is drowning Han Solo into the mud.
Yeah.
And he starts gurgling on the mud, and it's him speaking Chewbacca's language. Mm-hmm. But then he actually like knows how to speak it.
Yeah. I honestly, the same thing. I honestly was like, oh, is he just gurgling on this dirt, or does he know how to speak Wookiee and he's accidentally, or is he gurgling on this dirt and he's accidentally saying stuff? I was like so confused. I was like, he's clearly in the mud and he's coughing up dirt.
It's really weird. They're like,
it's like, why wouldn't he even?
They're trying to make it a movie surprise.
Yeah, like why wouldn't he even try 5 seconds into the into the fight?
He waits till he's drowning on mud, and Chewbacca even gives him a look like, "Are you just drowning on mud, or did you say something?" And he says more stuff. But like, another problem I have with this little piece is that apparently Chewbacca, before the original trilogy, was just murdering people in a mucky cave. Like, they showed other bodies.
Just eating them. That's how he stayed alive. He was the punishment for, I guess, this empire. And he was, guards would just toss a body down there and he would beat the hell out of them and then eat them, I guess.
He's basically like this movie's version of the original trilogy's Sarlacc. Like, you film in this crazy
Chewbacca
beast.
is the Sarlacc pit.
And I actually thought it was really cool to see Chewbacca covered in like clay mud like that. Yeah. He looked pretty freaky.
Yeah, whoever this guy was, I thought he did a great job. Like, this is like the most athletic we've ever seen Chewbacca.
Yeah, it's not played by Peter Mayhew anymore, who's like 95 years old.
So this guy was tossing around Han Solo and a couple stormtrooper guards or whatever the hell towards the end of the movie, and I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, we've never seen Chewbacca.
I have one more problem. How many times would Han Solo have actually died? The way they escape is like he kicks Han Solo through a metal pole.
Yeah, apparently that was the finishing move. And Han Solo gets his shit wrecked. And that's apparently part of the plan.
If his spinal cord isn't injured at that point, like
Han Solo would be snapped in half from this tackle that Chewbacca makes through a pole that's supporting a platform.
They're also at one point running in opposite directions at full speed with chains.
Oh, I was going to say, this is where Han Solo gets his leg ripped off.
He's got a bionic leg? I had no idea. So that was something else that they explained explicitly. I thought the amount of times that they showed the pair of dice was completely obnoxious.
What was with that? Is that in the original trilogy?
It's in it's like barely in that. But then in The Last Jedi, they have that moment where Luke is giving that to Leia when he astral projects.
What?
They've made it like a big thing.
I don't remember that at all.
I'm telling you, Gronk Droid, a Star Wars story. If you took a piss on the Star Wars set in the original trilogy, they're gonna make a movie out of it.
When I saw this, like literally 2 minutes into the movie, Han Solo steals a speeder thing or whatever and tosses up these fuzzy dice, these fuzzy golden dice or whatever that he has, and I was like, okay, why make this a scene?
They don't do anything.
Yeah, they don't do anything. I was like, this is just like a quirky thing that he does. This is a Han Solo thing. He's so confident in himself. This is a fuzzy dice.
Apparently what I heard from my brother-in-law was that when they were making the Millennium Falcon for the new trilogy, there was like one sole set director that's like, wait, we forgot the dice. And people were like, what are you talking about? And he like showed him a still frame, and he's like, Han Solo's dice. And so from there, like they're like, oh my gosh, and like they like wrote that into like everything.
I don't know.
Boba Fett, but Star Wars, Gronk Droid, Star Wars.
They made a goddamn point in this movie to make the dice very prominent, and they brought it up at least like 5 times.
How many close-ups on the dice?
At least 10 times.
We're not joking. Anyone who may be listening to us on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud.
Yeah. You're going to see some dice in this.
It's going to get dicey.
Were you okay with that? Like, what did you think of that?
No,
like,
it was just like...
Did you know from the... off the bat, I was like, they're trying to do something here.
Wouldn't one time do? Once.
Yeah, towards the end of the movie. They made it like... There's a lot of times.
It was a weird choice. And... it all comes back to a tweet that we actually quoted recently in our Twitter, but it's basically like The Last Jedi preached this huge message of kill the past, let these old characters go so we can move on with Star Wars. And then the very next Star Wars movie they do is this Han Solo movie with dozens of random references that are unneeded to this whole movie. Mm-hmm. I can't come to terms with that, Mikey.
Honestly, I have no idea what they're doing with this franchise. It is the most bizarre franchise to me, I think, ever. Because there are 3 movies that I consider 3 of some of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Are you talking about the prequels?
All of the prequels.
Okay.
and
Brett's going to fight you on Revenge of the Sith.
I don't care. I honestly do not care. They look like shit. But seriously, this franchise is so weird to me. I don't know what they're doing with it, and now they want to make like a Boba Fett movie, a Lando movie,
Gronk Droid.
Yeah,
Rob Gronkowski droid movie.
Like, I don't know what they're doing with this movie, and then of course they've still got like 2 or 3 more Rian Johnson movies, which I'm sure you're pumped for.
3. 3 dreadful movies. I don't know. Maybe they'll be good movies, but
I know we did not start off on the right foot with The Last Jedi, so I don't know what to expect. Like, honestly, I do not know what to expect with this franchise. Like, they're honestly really, they're pulling themselves thin. Like, how much do you honestly have? They're branching off so many different directions. How much do you have to write? Like, you're expecting a lot from your audience to invest in all of these different characters.
In a movie a year, I mean, I think
It's
they're
insane.
trying to develop more characters so that they can pull off
It's
what
insane.
Marvel's doing and the comic book movies are doing.
No.
Do you think Star Wars really needs to, like, emulate that? I think they have their own movie history that they can be their own separate thing.
There's never going to be another MCU because the MCU has had comics for decades. There's already
Century, maybe.
Yeah, there's already established storylines, characters, plot points. There's everything already going for it, and people that may or may not have already invested time into it already. Like, I don't read comic books, but I still know what's going on in, like, Spider-Man comics. Like, you don't have to be into it to know what's going on. There's nothing like that. It's been around for decades.
The Star Wars universe had a large set of books written for it, but when Disney bought the rights, they threw that all away. So they really set themselves up into the position of this weird love-hate relationship with the past. And The Last Jedi talks about it explicitly. And this movie, basically, it's its lifeblood, is living off of the old Han Solo and what that character is. It's weird. It's interesting.
And it's especially weird because they're both under, like, the Disney umbrella. So, like, they're obviously competing with each other.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I really think they'd be smart to spread their movies out a little bit, build up the hype. If they come out with a movie, like, I'm a huge Star Wars guy. If they really come out with a movie every year, I'm going to start skipping them, and then I'm going to skip all of them.
Yeah, I mean, a movie a year for
Until
a
we
franchise, like, I'm not even, like, half invested in, but I've seen all of them. It's like, I don't know. If I didn't have Movie Pass, I probably wouldn't have seen this movie. But
And only 2 out of the 6 spoiler men bucked up and saw it.
Yeah.
I mean, Pappy would have saw it if he wasn't in Peru. And he's really grumpy about being in Peru, by the way. But, I mean, honestly, it's weird. Even on our other, like, new movie reviews, sometimes there's 2 people. A lot of times there's 3. For a Star Wars movie, to only have 2 of us watch
it's
it.
kind of bizarre. Especially me. Like, I'm not invested in this.
You literally had a
I'm
movie
invested
pass
in-
in a free weekend.
I'm invested in Donald Glover. That's what the main reason I went to go see this, and I'm, like, only half impressed with his performance. So
Yeah. He's much better in the This Is America music video,
Yes.
actually.
I would suggest watch Atlanta rather than this movie.
All right, well, Mikey, why don't you give us your final synopsis? And I would say yes or no, but you kind of revealed earlier.
Yeah, I'll give it, like, if a 5 and below is a no and a 6 and above is a yes, I'll give this a 6. I'm not invested in Star Wars really at all. I've seen every movie, but I don't really consider any of them to be great, in my opinion. I don't know what other people think. I know other people love this franchise and stuff, but I just went. I had a Sunday off. I went to go see this movie. I got Movie Pass. It cost literally nothing for me to go see this movie, so I went and saw it. I wanted to see Donald Glover in a movie, and I thought it was okay. I mean, I can't complain about whatever guy's name played Han Solo. I honestly don't know his name. I'm sorry. I thought he did a fine job.
Yeah, we're in the dugout, so we lost internet connection, and our IMDb page is gone.
I thought the plot was kind of all over the place, and then it kind of picked up towards the end, and I thought they really should have done what we considered at the beginning of this podcast, the Emilia Clarke plot twist.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been great. That would have been a really good movie, and I'm kind of disappointed it didn't go that way. But
don't worry, they'll probably make that.
yeah,
movie.
they'll probably make her movie, and it'll be not as good. But I'll give it a 6 out of 10, which is a soft yes.
I'll give this movie a 6 out of 10 too. But unlike your rating system, like there's so many movies out there. If you're not a 7, I'm not giving you a yes. And if you're a Star Wars movie under a 7, like now I have like a personal vengeance against you. I don't have a personal vengeance against this movie, but it is a cool like theater experience, I guess. The visuals are really cool.
Yeah, it looks great.
You're not going to be let down in terms of form and quality and cinematic expertise, but this route that Star Wars is taking to do a solo movie : a Star Wars story on every throwaway character in the galaxy, it's troublesome. And
honestly, would you expect that from a Han Solo movie? He's like, what, second most popular character? If not first most popular character? What
is he?
Who's cooler than Han Solo? Or do people like Luke more?
I mean, Darth Vader. Should they just do every movie on Darth Vader?
I mean, Darth Vader would be cool as hell. I wouldn't be mad about that. But like Boba Fett and Lando and Darth Maul, that would be really cool. A Darth Maul movie would be super cool.
If Rian Johnson's trilogy somehow deals with Kira and like Darth Maul,
that would be awesome.
Sequence, that could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, that would be. We've already written a better movie. The whole what's her face, Amelia Clark plotline would have been so much better.
Yeah, and Lady Proxima. If anyone out there on the Twitter world knows more about Lady Proxima, write in spoilers.
Send us your fan art. Your Lady Proxima fan art.
Draw us, Josh and Mikey, fighting Lady Proxima. I don't have much more about the movie, Mikey. It felt good to talk to you about it, though, because...
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a horrible film.
No. But, I mean, they certainly underperformed in what they were expecting.
Money-wise, yeah. And ouch to that, but, like...
Also, they have infinity money, so it's, like, not a big loss. So.
They maybe just planted some seeds that could feed a bloodline, that could light a spark, that could light the fire of a rebellion.
Oh wait, what about this? This rebel fighter in whatever?
The Marauders.
The Marauders, yeah.
There's Marauders dressed up in like a Native American garb, kind of, with masks. I don't know. I think they're trying to spell them out as the originators of the rebellion.
That would have been a cool plot point to go instead of as well. Yeah.
They're very much throwaway. And we didn't get into the end scene that much, and we won't, but there's basically like a triple cross, and like Woody Harrelson betrays Chewbacca and Solo, but because Solo saw it coming, he betrayed him.
Is that a Solo shot first thing?
Oh, they totally retconned who shot first between Greedo and Han. Because, like, Han learns from Woody Harrelson to shoot first.
I hope you're still paying attention, because now I'm going to tell you the most important... Smart move, kid.
Very explicitly. Mm-hmm. And in George Lucas's re-edit of Star Wars, Greedo shoots first. So Disney's basically saying, like, screw that, no.
So it's Han shot first now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I don't know anything about the franchise.
I think that's a good note to end it on, Mike. Are you good?
I thought this was a great podcast. Cheers to you, Josh.
Yeah, it was good having you. We're in person tonight. It's kind of interesting to do that. Han shot first. Darth Maul, Rian Johnson trilogy coming up. News from Spoilers. That was Spoilers.
detective said he heard about this very big gangster putting together a job. No, I'm telling you, it's gonna be great. When have I ever steered you wrong?
That was spoilers.
Hello, it is I, Stevie, and I saw Solo over the weekend. I had no hopes for this movie, and after getting out, I realized I freaking love this movie. I thought it just worked. The dude who played Solo was pretty cool. Donald Glover was awesome. Khaleesi, whatever her name is, did an okay job, even though she's not that great of an actress. And, I don't know, just, this movie is all around awesome, and that train scene, that's gotta be one of the coolest scenes in Star Wars history. I mean, my mouth was open the whole time, just in excitement. So, yeah, this movie was great. I've also come to realize that Rogue One and Solo are collectively better than Force Awakens, as well as, The Last Jedi, which is probably one of the worst Star Wars movies ever made. So yeah, this movie is near the top as far as Star Wars movies rankings for me. Awesome movie, and I probably will see it again. And Josh, if you didn't like it, well, that's just your fault then. Alright, see you later guys, bye.
That was spoilers.